A lot of the time, the multitasking comes from trying to do all the things that you didn't necessarily plan for, the things that just sort of take up your day, like Slack messages, like social media, like email, things like that. But if you plan for those uncertain times at certain times of day, then it becomes a lot easier to sort of ignore them during the day. Welcome to What Was I Supposed to Be Doing? Time management, prioritization, and focus for when the whole business runs from your brain. I'm Lauren Glenn. I've been in the online business space for over a decade, and I've helped everyone from small business owners to Fortune 500 companies stop reacting to their business and start running it with purpose. These days, I work with service-based entrepreneurs who are booked out, overwhelmed, and tired of always feeling behind. Together, we create time management strategies that match your brain, your energy, and the business you're actually running, not the one hustle bros say you should have. Around here, you'll get honest takes, practical strategies, and maybe a little swearing, so you can finally follow through on the stuff that matters and stop stressing over everything else. Let's get into it. Welcome to this week's episode of What Was I Supposed to Be Doing? Today, we're talking about our nemesis as business owners, multitasking. And you may be surprised to hear me say that because a lot of people say that they love multitasking or that they're great at multitasking and that's how that makes them a great business owner. But I am here to help you understand why multitasking is actually slowing you down and not helping you build your business the way that you think it is. So we're going to dig into that today. First, let's talk about what does multitasking actually look like in your business? Because it could look like a lot of different things. It could look like bouncing between emails, a client message, filling in a proposal, creating a project plan, or trying to follow a project plan, and that half-cold coffee that's still sitting on your desk from this morning and it's already 2:00 and you don't know where the day went. That is multitasking. You try to call it just keeping things moving or getting everything done or trying to get a lot done at once. And the reality is you're really not getting anything finished. You instead are coming to the end of the day and you're not sure what you got done and you're really fried and you're really not feeling like you're actually accomplishing anything with all these hours you're putting into your business by the end of the day. So I'm not here to give you another productivity hack to try to solve your multitasking problems. The reality is that we all try to multitask. What I am here to do is help you figure out the best way that your brain works so that you can be productive in a way that actually works for you and not just a way that everyone tells you should work or trying to fit yourself into a mold. Sometimes multitasking can feel more like keeping it interesting as opposed to really trying to get things done. So let's talk about how we can work instead of multitasking. So one of my favorite podcasts that I like to listen to is called Stuff You Should Know. And they did a really excellent episode on multitasking. They talked all about the brain science behind it and why it's actually costing you time and why it's not, people who say that they can multitask actually are not good at multitasking. So I will leave the science to them, but the summary of that is that when you think you're multitasking, you're actually not. It's actually your brain switching from activity to activity. It's happening fairly quickly, but it is switching. It's not actually doing multiple things at once. So your brain is trying really hard to keep up with what it is that you want to be working on. And it's not actually processing. It's not able to process multiple things at once in that way. It's really only able to process one thing at a time. And it's actually costing you time and energy when you try to switch between things that aren't related. So every time your brain switches between different tasks, it burns a little bit more energy, and it also creates this sort of attention residue of where it thinks that it was working on this one thing, but now you switch to this other thing, but it hasn't quite fully switched over, so there's still a little bit sort of lingering in the background, and it really makes your brain a little bit more tired and a little bit more confused. It's not that you're disorganized, it's that you probably have a lot on your plate, you probably have a lot on your brain that's sort of all running around together, and you're trying to keep it all going all at once, and your brain is saying, I can't do it all at once. So I don't care if you think that you're a person that's good at multitasking, that doesn't actually exist. Your brain actually can't do it. It really is switching from task to task. It is never working on more than one thing at once. And it's not that you're disorganized, it's that you just have a lot going on in your brain. You have a lot of things that you're keeping track of. You have a lot of work that you're doing, a lot of things that you're responsible for. And so your brain is trying really hard to keep up with everything that you want it to get done. And instead, it's just sort of getting a lot more tired and not doing any of those single things the best that it could. So, what does this multitasking actually look like in your business? Well, it looks like you checking email constantly throughout the day, even while you're already working on client work, even while you're already working on, checking social media or posting to social media, while you're also trying to do, prepare this thing for your kids' school. And you're also trying to answer Slack messages from the people that work for you, or you're responding to messages in Instagram while you're also trying to do your other work. And it just all kind of compiles and builds up. And you end up not doing any of these single things really well because you're trying to do so many things at once. Even just 2 or 3 things at the same time can really get your brain off track, get your brain, trying to do too many things at once. And it will struggle to do any of them well, or as well as you potentially could if that was the only thing that you were doing. And part of this becomes switching between tasks so fast that your brain never really kind of fully lands on any single idea. So it never really gets into that deep focus mode where you can really focus on something and think deeply about it. And so you're just kind of stuck spinning your wheels and only thinking of things at a surface level. How can you actually focus when it feels like everything around you is urgent? It feels like you can't actually step away from any one thing that you're doing. How do you actually get it all done? Well, what I always recommend to my clients is batch your work. And I know that that's not groundbreaking or revolutionary, but what I mean by that is figure out what the tasks are that you have to do and plan your day around them. So for example, I knew that I had to record this podcast today. So in the morning, I got all of my other work done. I answered any client emails I had. I responded to some of the contractors I'm working with. And I knew that I would be able to put my computer and my phone on Do Not Disturb and really just focus on releasing this podcast episode, recording this podcast episode. For you, that might look like setting a block aside to do that deep work in your business, such as planning out your next marketing campaign or writing the next series of social media captions that you have to write, or really thinking through what it is that you want your next offer to be and setting time aside so that that is the only thing that you are doing. And you're not then also trying to respond to Slack messages. You're not also trying to respond to email. Another thing that you can do is to set expectations around response times. I work with one woman who has 3 jobs somehow. She runs a VA company. She works a full-time 9 to 5, and she also does photography on the side. And so when you email her, you get a canned response that says, I respond to email within 2 or 3 business days. It's a lot more specific than I'm paraphrasing it here, but I respond to email within 2 to 3 business days. Here's what you can expect. If you're looking for this business, you can email this person. If you're looking for this, you can email this person. But every single email she gets replies with that autoresponder. So she's setting those expectations for her clients that they should be expecting her response times to be XYZ, and they shouldn't expect an immediate response. And it takes the pressure off of her to not constantly be multitasking and not feeling like she has to always have her email open or feel like she has to be responding to clients immediately, because that's not their expectation, because that's not the boundary that she has set with them. I also like to group my call days on specific days of the week. So I only do calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because then I'm not also then trying to jump between a call and doing, marketing and doing social media. I'm not trying to jump between all of those things. My focus is just being on the calls, just either doing the podcast interviews that I'm doing or doing the client work that I'm doing, meeting with my clients. And I don't feel that pressure of, well, I was going to do this also other thing today too. So I have to kind of multitask during a client session. No, we do not do that. We want to make sure that we're planning out our time and our tasks to really give our time and attention to the thing that's in front of us and not try to be doing multiple things at once. I also want you to be really careful about what you stack next to each other. So if in the morning you're doing that really deep thinking work of planning out your next offer, really digging into what that's going to look like, how you're going to structure it, what you're going to, charge for it, things like that, I don't want you to then add in some other deep thinking work right after that, because you're probably going to be a little tired. Your brain's probably going to be a little bit fried. And you should probably think of something, you should probably focus more on something that's a little bit lighter, maybe some social media content, or maybe responding to client emails if those don't require super deep thinking. Make sure that you're not trying to plan so much of your deep work back to back, because your brain is going to get tired and it's not going to be able to focus really well on those subsequent things, because it's like, I already did the hard work today. I'm done. I'm done. So make sure that you're taking that into consideration when you're planning out the work that you want to do. And give your brain the space to sort of shift gears as you switch from focus to focus, so that it doesn't feel like you're just jumping from thing to thing and you don't have time to sort of decompress and think things through. I like to get up, maybe take a little walk, maybe drink some water, stop looking at a screen for a few minutes or, half an hour or so, and really give myself time to decompress. Maybe watch something stupid on TV or a YouTube video or something, just to sort of refocus my brain so that when I am ready to come back to work, that I'm not switching from one deep thing to another. And the other key to this is to not have so many priorities. Plan a couple of things that you can get done and really focus on them, as opposed to trying to do everything. And I know that it's a lot of the time, the multitasking comes from trying to do all the things that you didn't necessarily plan for, the things that just sort of take up your day, like Slack messages, like social media, like email, things like that. But if you plan for those uncertain times at certain times of day, then it becomes a lot easier to sort of ignore them during the day. If you know that you're going to respond to email at the end of the day, then you don't have to feel like you have to have it open all day long to respond to it as soon as something comes in. You can respond to it when you get to it, as opposed to when it comes in. Because at the end of the day, you have time blocked for you to actually go back and check your emails and your DMs and your Slack messages or Circle or whatever it is that you're using. And that takes that pressure off for feeling like you have to respond instantly. And this is a lot of what I help my clients figure out inside my Bottleneck to Balance roadmap, where we sit down and actually figure out what you should be working on, where your time is going versus where it should be going, and how things are stealing your focus, and what actually matters for you to be doing in your business and what doesn't, and how do you actually devote time to those things that matter. So in the roadmap, we actually sit down and plan out all of the tasks that you're doing in your business to run your business. And then we make a schedule of, when should I be doing these things? What does this actually look like? And I don't want it to sound like I'm making you like a very specific time blocked schedule. We actually we figure out what kind of schedule works for you. So if time blocking works for you, then that's how we build one. If you really just want a list of priorities and you focus on them when you're feeling like that's what you want to do, then that's what we do together. It's really customized to how you work, how you think, and how your brain actually functions in actually getting your work done. So you can book that at laurenglenn.com/roadmap, and we will sit down together for 90 minutes and figure all of this out together. And so if you're getting to this point of the episode and you're still thinking, well, I know that's true for everyone else, but I can still multitask. That's not true. I know that you think that you can, but you can't. I highly recommend that you go, after you finish listening to this episode, go and listen to that Stuff You Should Know episode all about multitasking, and really learn the brain chemistry behind why multitasking is not a real thing, and what you actually are doing in your brain when you think that you're multitasking. And also, constantly trying to multitask is a great way to become burnt out really easily in your business, because you're trying to just do so much that your brain gets really tired. And if you're doing this all the time, constantly, then it's a really great way to get burnt out and really not get the success and the results that you want in your business and in your life. If you're not sure how to figure out what you should be working on, episode 2 of the Process to Profit podcast, my old podcast, talked all about prioritization. So I'll make sure that I link that below so that you can go and listen to that to figure out how you should be prioritizing your work and what factors you should look at for that. So that will be linked in the show notes or in the description below. So as a reminder, multitasking is not a thing. Our brains don't actually do it. What's actually happening is that we are switching from task to task really fast. It's making our brain more fatigued, and we're not doing any of the things that we think we're doing very well, or as well as we could be. So next time you get the urge to do another task while you're already doing something, then I really want you to take a step back and really think, what is my priority right now? Where should my focus be going? And if it's that new thing that you just thought of and that is more important than the thing that you're working on, then sure, jump to that. But don't try to fool yourself into thinking that you can just multitask and do multiple things at once. It is not the case. I recommend that you schedule out your time for checking your email, set really specific boundaries around what sort of response times your clients can expect, and hold those boundaries with yourself as well, because I know how easy it is to sort of let them go. I hope this episode was helpful for you. If you got value out of it, please like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or subscribe if you're listening to the audio version of the podcast. And please tell a friend, leave a comment, leave a review. It really helps me understand what it is that you're enjoying and where I can help you and what I can support you in. Thank you so much for watching or listening. I really appreciate it, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye!